This is one of the two demons from the teaser on the Earshot episode. These are referred to as the scabby demons, and as you can see here, they do have scabs all over them. They're kind of interesting. They don't have any mouths on them. They're kind of mute. These little gross scabs and Cadillac tail horns and stuff like that. I thought they were kind of fun. These are some little scarab-like creatures from Graduation Day Part 1. Mike Pack, who was the supervisor on the show that year, just took a Tootsie Roll and kind of carved it down and hand-formed it into the shape without any paint or anything, because they're already so black to begin with. He just gave the actors these kind of prepared, Tootsie Roll things to swallow. So this is a head that we made for a scene where the mayor is trying to test his invincibility. He kind of allows himself to be sliced in half to prove that he's can't be killed and he's immortal. It was mechanized to kind of come apart like this, slowly. And inside of it, you can see, I think, a little bit of green on the back side that was used to do a CG element of this kind of weird, ephemeral, ethereal kind of glowy stuff in there. Right here we have an appliance for one of the characters from an episode entitled Enemies. This is the shaman character. And he had most of his face wrapped up in like a turban type affair, so his mouth really wasn't seen or the top of his head. So we really only sculpted the parts that were necessary to see. And we came up with an idea of using these kind of glowing contact lenses that worked with a black light on set that I thought was very effective, and hopefully we use again on some other characters because it looked really nice. Here we have the molds. You can kind of see how the pieces come together. This is the copy of the actor's face right here that the sculpture is made upon. The clay will get pushed onto here and sculpted and textured and all that, and then another mold is made where you end up with something like this, where you can see the details and everything of the sculpture inside of that. All these are made like an ultracal, which is like a industrial grade plaster. When these are all done, they go into the foam department and they'll fill this part with some foam rubber, and which solidifies eventually after like 3 or 4 minutes. And while it's still liquid, they put the two pieces together and clamp them down so that you end up with these pieces that have these nice kind of edges like this. So that really aids greatly when you're gluing this onto somebody's face to help blend it into their normal skin. And here we have another facial appliance for a character named Balthazar that was in an episode, Bad Girls. And this was actually one of the more grosser creatures I think we've done. He was kind of this, I think he's like the vampire equivalent of Jabba the Hutt, just this kind of slug-like, obese, blobby creature that's kind of attended to by people that are keeping him kind of liquid and I guess fresh all the time. I don't know if that's the right term for a vampire. John Wheaton, who's like the head artist here that works for me, came up with some ideas for these kind of bone structures coming off the cheekbones that I thought were very nice. I think one of the other things is, we're so often doing demons, and that always kind of seems to translate into horns. We try to figure out some way to get that texture and feel, but not do it in a traditional manner. So in this instance, he had them coming off like the cheekbones or some kind of hard plate elements that gave that feeling of horns. For the suit component of it, we ended up actually recycling a suit we had built for another show. I don't like to reuse anything too recognizable. In this instance, it was just the body and the arms, and the face was entirely different. And I kind of feel like the face is what you always focus on. So we tend to never really recycle a face. It'll just usually be body parts, arms, or back of the head. And in this instance, we had to come up with like a 500-pound demon, like in 3 or 4 days, which is typical of our workload. So really, it was almost the only option was to recycle something like that. There's also, I think, a nice death scene where he's kind of electrocuted and charred, and that was just some stuff that Todd McIntosh, who handles all the application for our work, Todd did some really creative stuff on set with just coloring him to look all burnt and charred, and I thought that worked very effectively for just a little simple effect like that. It was a fun character. I was really pleased with the way he turned out. I think it was one of my favorite characters that season.
Unacceptable! Unacceptable!